On December 24th, Geto sends teams to Shinjuku, Tokyo, and Kyoto to distract the sorcerers while he faces Yuta unprotected at the school. His strategy is to kill Yuta and obtain Rika, a special grade curse that would tilt the odds to his favor. Even if Rika isn't bound to Yuta, Geto is still powerful enough to absorb her after killing her host the same way he absorbed the cursed spirit plaguing the young woman from before. Geto kills the guards at Jujutsu High effortlessly while Yuta and Maki make the best of their time. Maki opens up to Yuta about how she comes from the Zenin clan, known for their power as Jujutsu sorcerers. However, Maki does not possess the ability to see curses without her glasses. She cannot even imbue cursed energy into her tools. In spite of her shortcomings, she was able to get into Jujutsu High and away from her clan's homeland, which she detests. Yuta recalls the time she rebuffed his attempts to ask her about herself, but sees now that she enjoys nothing more than Jujutsu sorcery, even if she says she is only doing it to spite her family. Yuta admires her determination and compliments her on being so strong and unyielding. Maki flashes back to her mother speaking down to her in front of everyone in the clan, and is truly touched by Yuta's comment, but refuses to show him gratitude. Instead, she pretends to tell him off, but he giggles with her as she leaves the room. Maki blushes as she tells herself not to think this means she has been accepted. Geto casts a veil around Jujutsu High as several curses descend upon the cities. Gojo sees a challenge in Miguel, a cursed rope user. Miguel discusses the plan with Minami to stall the sorcerers in the cities until Geto obtains Rika after killing Yuta. Maki meets Geto in the yard and challenges him. Gojo notices that Geto is not around, and wonders if he may be in another city. Ajichi arrives with a report on the investigation Gojo requested on Yuta. After the report is given, Gojo alarmingly returns Toge and Panda to the school to help Yuta. He tells them that he will come to help after taking care of the foreigner, Miguel. When Miguel and Minami notice Gojo teleporting the two, they realize he must have figured it out. Minami calls to twins Kimiko and Nanako to engage. They step out of a curse's mouth as Miguel calls out a challenge to Gojo. Gojo reveals his cursed eyes beneath the blindfold and says he is in a hurry. Toge and Panda appear outside the veil and drop down to it. Geto notices a hole has been broken in his veil as he walks through the blood of a fallen Maki. Geto underestimates their speed and is attacked by Panda, who takes gorilla form to give him all he has. Geto impales him using Maki's staff, but since Geto misses his soul, he is able to survive. As Panda falls, Toge appears and calls to Geto the curse, plummet. Geto's body is crushed into the training ground, and the power causes Toge to cough up some blood. Panda runs to Maki, who is still alive. Geto emerges from behind them with another attack. Yuta hears it and thinks it is another earthquake. Geto walks around Maki, Toge and Panda's unconscious bodies, and Panda's arms have been completely mangled. He expresses admiration for fellow Jujutsu sorcerers rallying to protect their peer Yuta, just as he had hoped for in the world of Jujutsu sorcerers Geto had envisioned. Yuta arrives carrying his katana. He sees his classmates laid out and hears Toge whisper run away as Geto continues to monologue to Yuta. Enraged, Yuta calls to Rika, fully manifesting her for the second time. Geto and Yuta exchange threats of killing the other. Geto attempts to send several low-grade curses at them, but Yuta is able to take them out with his katana while Rika gathers the other students. On a terrace, Yuta casts a healing spell on his friends. Rika begins to shake Maki, accusing her of being responsible for Yuta's misery. Yuta sternly tells Rika to treat Maki with care. Rika defensively cries for Yuta's forgiveness, which he gives her with a promise that he could never be mad at her. She notices Geto and asks Yuta if he hates him. "I loathe him," Yuta tells her. Rika promises to fight him with Yuta. Geto calls out to Yuta, commenting on how using cursed energy to heal requires an advanced reverse curse technique. Scolding him for taking his eyes off the battle, Geto sends a swarm of centipede curses at Yuta, who as Rika materialize a cursed speech megaphone bearing the mark of the Inumaki clan. Yuta holds the megaphone to his mouth and calls out the curse, "Die." All curses that Geto sent out are eliminated, and Geto marvels at Yuta's ability to use cursed speech with less than a year of studying Jujutsu. Yuta realizes that cursed speech is difficult to use as the cursed energy scatters and is difficult to aim, further deepening his admiration of Toge. Geto realizes that Rika's form is ever-changing, further deepening his desire to absorb her. Yuta threatens to beat him to a pulp. In Tokyo, several sorcerers work together to exorcise the many curses plaguing the city. Mei takes out her 50th curse, and continue to mentally note each exorcism for her full bonus. Ajichi confronts teenagers Mimiko and Nanako, who tell him of their abusive upbringing in the sticks that aren't even on maps. Ajichi tries to dissuade them from continuing. They recall Geto's rescue of them as children from their village which had imprisoned them for their Jujutsu gifts. They were radicalized before hitting puberty. Before the story can continue, Miguel and Gojo's fight interrupts. Gojo blows away another piece of Miguel's rope and thinks to himself that the unusual curse woven into the rope is interrupting his infinity technique. Miguel thinks to himself that he only has half of his rope left, and tries to stall Gojo by asking him how long he thinks it took the people in his country, an unknown country in Africa, to make it. Gojo tells him he doesn't care, as 1 second of his time can outmatch it, before effortlessly blowing away a giant curse that was approaching. The explosion is massive, clarifying Gojo's technique to Miguel. It controls space-time with precise manipulation of cursed energy, all made possible by the power of his eyes. Miguel continues to fight Gojo. Meanwhile, Dr. Yeri surveys the wounded and acknowledges that it was all intended by Geto. At Jujutsu High, Geto comments that Yuta's anger must cause his body to be filled with cursed energy, causing heightened senses and possible feelings of omnipotence. His curses provide him with a 3-part staff to fight Yuta hand to hand. Yuta whispers to Rika to follow his lead. Geto asks if Yuta finds it strange how mankind is at the top of the food chain yet invents more powerful beings called gods, considering that Jujutsu sorcerers exist without belief. Yuta and Rika engage Geto. He tells Yuta that monkeys want to avert their eyes from the existence of those better than them. Yuta scolds him for speaking like a child who wishes he were a god. Geto tells him that he envisions a world of a chosen people. He is sickened by the number of weak humans who bury and oppress the strong simply because they have the sheer numbers. Rika comforts Yuta, who assures her he can continue fighting. Yuta attacks Geto, who notices that he had gotten faster. In response, Geto breaks the katana, scolding Yuta for imbuing his cursed energy too abruptly rather than bit by bit, but his lecture is interrupted by Yuta punching him in the face and being thrown to the ground. Geto lays beat, but not beaten, and genuinely impressed. Yuta shouts at Geto that he doesn't understand his motivation whatsoever. Yuta says that he knows nothing of Jujutsu outside of the school. All he knows is, in order to stay with his friends, in order to believe it's okay for him to live, he must kill Geto. Geto dismisses his claim as egotistical but encourages the self-affirmation as an important action. He then informs Yuta that there are only 4 people titled Special Grade, and 16 curses. Geto summons a single special grade potential apparition, Tamamo no Me Incarnate. He tells Yuta that he will combine its power with the 4,461 curses he already possesses, before striking him with it. In Kyoto, Kento Nanami arrives to take care of a curse that has killed several Jujutsu sorcerers. As more curses attack him, Nanami manages to defend himself. Elsewhere, the students of Kyoto's Jujutsu school work to take out the rest of the curses before Toto's favorite star Takata appears on a live holiday special. At Jujutsu High, Geto tells Yuta he is glad he came to kill him before he could fully wield Rika. Yuta flashes back to his time with Rika, understanding that their love, while not fully mature, was always true. Yuta thanks Rika for protecting him the last 6 years, and for falling in love with him. He asks her to lend him her power one last time to stop Geto, and he won't ask for anything of her ever again. She can have his heart, his body, everything. He shows her their ring as he tells her he loves her. It is implied that he kisses the cursed Rika off screen, because she becomes furious, revealing an eye that looks at Geto as she screams out her love for Yuta. Geto sees Yuta's action as an offer of sacrifice to release the limit on Rika's cursed energy. He calls Yuta a womanizer in an attempt to accuse him of using Rika, but Yuta replies that their love is pure. Rika's energy overpowers all of Geto's maelstrom curse, destroying much of the campus. Geto limps away, his right arm missing, further expressing admiration for the power granted by Rika. As he sits down to rest, he notices Gojo approaching. He asks if his family is safe. Gojo replies that his henchmen all got away. Geto calls Gojo unkind for sending Toge and Panda assuming he would defeat them, to anger Yuta. Gojo replies that he trusted Geto to not kill off young sorcerers without a reason. Geto recalls their friendship as students of Jujutsu High, and says that he doesn't think he has any trust left. He gives Gojo back Yuta's ID card, which makes Gojo realize he was behind the elementary school curse that ate the 2 children as well. Gojo asks him if he has any last words. Geto shares that, although he hates the humans he calls monkeys, he never hated any students of Jujutsu High. He could never feel genuine in the real world as a Jujutsu sorcerer among people. Gojo approaches Geto and speaks words unheard on screen. Geto appears shocked and tells Gojo he could at least hit him with some curses at his end. Yuta is awoken by Maki, Panda, and Toge. He asks how they are all doing, noticing that Panda's arms have not fully healed. Maki assures him that they are doing better than he is, and Panda reminds him that he can heal severed limbs, unlike the humans. Panda thanks Yuta for saving them before Yuta hears Rika calling to him. Yuta politely excuses himself before awkwardly explaining his sacrifice to use Rika's power. Maki is furious, as that means he would die, but before they can have a discussion, the curse dissipates, leaving only the form of 10-year-old Rika in the outfit she was wearing the day she died. Gojo returns clapping his hands, reminding his students what he looks like without a blindfold covering his eyes. Gojo goes on to explain that he investigated Yuta's theory. He had Ajichi run investigations on Rika's and Yuta's family lineages. It turns out that, although Rika has no curse user or Jujutsu family history, Yuta is a descendant of Sugawara Mishizane, which makes him a distant relative of Satoru Gojo. Yuta doesn't know what this means, and Maki explains that Mishizane is one of Japan's 3 great apparitions. Gojo confirms Yuta's theory. Rika did not place a curse on Yuta, he placed the curse on her. As Yuta pleaded don't die, he accidentally placed a bonded curse on Rika's soul when he was only 10 years old. Gojo goes on to explain that since the one who placed the curse has now cancelled the bond, it can be fully broken so long as Rika does not seek revenge on Yuta. Yuta apologizes to Rika for cursing her, and begins to blame himself for all the ones who were hurt afterward, going so far as to blame himself for those who died during Geto's attack. Rika thanks Yuta for giving her 6 more years to be by his side. She tells him she was happier as a curse than she ever felt when she was alive. She wishes him farewell, and asks that he not cross over to her side too soon. Yuta watches as Rika's spirit ascends. Sometime later, after snow has fallen, Gojo assures Yuta that Geto was going to attack the school whether he was there or not, and returns his ID. Yuta thanks Gojo for finding it for him, but Gojo tells him that it was found by his best friend, the only one I had. Yuta is called by Maki to keep up with them. Still wearing the ring on his finger, Yuta smiles and joins his friends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.